That's not Dick. That's not Dick at all. Like 10 people in the world are mad at me because I don't like their name. More orphans and poor people came by. I mean, I can't probably say poor people. Wow. Oof. And the sicko made her watch. Yep. Deaf Mount Deaf Play. People watch it and assume right away that it's edgy. And usually those people are the type of people that think that season 6 of My Hero Academia is too extreme because they killed a hero.
He tried it.
Forgetting what exactly their profession is. Over time, people on social media define edgy as anime that has a lot of death in it. And if that's the case, Dragon Ball Z has all these shows beat, because Earth gets blown up like every Saturday. People that say this don't want to actually explain their point and only associate bad connotations with the word. Tokyo Ghoul, that's edgy. The World's Strongest, the Commonplace, that's edgy. The Image and Shadow, that's edgy. It's become a catch-all word like the word mid, where you don't really have to even explain why. But that being said, Deaf Mount Deaf Play is kinda edgy. To start the episode off, an army of the kingdom's soldiers are in a dungeon where holy fuck they are dying. Blood is everywhere, body parts are flying off bodies. And this is where we meet our protagonist, Dick Saucer. Dick is the strongest knight that has to fight. That kind of rhymed. And then the side characters start doing the thing they do in Pokemon, where side characters that aren't doing anything are explaining what we're seeing right now to, talk to the audience rather than help the people that are dying. Wow. It's no wonder why you guys are losing right now. The healer feels the need to give a monologue to her imaginary friend instead of helping you slay the monster. Basically, Dick has the evil eyes, which allows him to talk to dead people, which is the reason why he was hunted as a kid and more or less made an orphan. Now he's the hero of the kingdom who's trying to kill the Grim Reaper, this being the corpse god, using his necromancy power to bring them back to life and be in his army. The entire time, Dick is trying to hear the reason why exactly this guy is so evil. Like, there's My Hero Academia evil, being the inevitable downfall of a society, and then there's just Disney evil. So Corpse God just starts talking about his high school nihilism's philosophy, saying everything is meaningless, all lives are nothing but playthings to him. And this is the point where I realize that holy fuck does this look good. Like, most isekais get this like Walmart budget with that yee ass haircut, where it's like highly saturated, the yellow, the pinks, the light blue, overly cheap looking design. But even like the armor on this guy's body is shining. Like, this is some top tier animation. And when I say that, I'm not comparing it to like the shonens, and I would hope so, cause those animes cost the lives of like 40 animators. Their conversation lasts until the final attack, where presumably Dick Saucer dies, only to wake up in a dark, damp alley where some rats were chewing on him. When he wakes up, he has this overwhelming pain around his neck, as he's now in modern day Japan. When he wakes up, some guy on a phone basically explains that he put a hit on this guy, which is why he was left dead in an alley. He then gets a tap on his shoulder by the police, who are wondering why exactly he has this giant cut around his neck. But before he can explain, this girl just drop kicks one of them, leaving him unconscious, then tells the other one not to worry, grabs his hand, and then runs off. Dick likes her cheerful nature, but knows something is off about her, and then that's when it hits him. She's the one that killed him. Not him, but like the him that originally had this body. Basically, he's Yami from Yu-Gi-Oh! Now we meet Yuna. Yuna is the crazy rich eccentric type that has family issues. Typically the friendly girlfriend type who's like, I want to cut you. Please let me cut you. The type to do anything you tell her to do, but also misinterpret what you said and go overboard. Who might catch you staring at the front desk girl from the ice cream parlor, where she's now turning up missing. After some fan service, she explains that she's the assassin that killed him, and that's when he gets the steppin'. The guy on the cell phone comes back to explain that this guy is some 16-year-old rich kid named Polka Shinoyama. With him not having enough magic to actually fight her, he picks up this metal pike, and then he takes his sword stance. And this is the moment where I'm just like, yeah, she does not know what's about to happen to her. Even with this weapon, there's no way she's beating him. But then he gets waxed. Like, at this point, my brain is trying to do gymnastics, because it's trying to understand how a knight who's been fighting his whole life, trying to fight wars and killer monsters with a sword, is losing to some rich girl high school assassin. Like, there's no way she's been doing this more than 5 years, and she has him dead to right. Yuna finds it interesting how he picked this spot to die, explained that the Yakuza used to use this place to do some not so nice things to people and their families. Hearing this, he gets a jolt of power, and then impales her with a skeleton hand, calling her his plaything. And this is when it hits me. That's not Dick. That's not Dick at all. Dick is in another world wondering, did he really kill the god of death? To be fair, it was kinda easy, but he doesn't really care because he's about to go bang one of the church nuns. Episode 2. Okay, so since this isn't Dick, I'm gonna name him Yami. Why? Because it sounds better than Polka. Polka is a dumb name. I don't even know what it means. I don't care to look up what it means. And I don't care that like 10 people in the world are mad at me because I don't like their name. Yami explains his backstory, where he was like a level 1 skeleton man who was originally like an orphan until his parents sold him to a necromancer, where he got experimented on and learned some things from them, but eventually lived alone. He found some orphan kids who needed some refuge and were dying of starvation. He protected them from the shadows, fed them fruits and vegetables probably. I doubt it, but maybe. Eventually felt confident enough to introduce himself. They accepted him. More orphans and poor people came by. I mean, I can't probably say poor people. One of them had a crush on him, which is kind of weird since I'm guessing he's like hella old in comparison, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Eventually the church found out about this, and since it's medieval times, assumed he was evil. Honestly, if I see a 5'9" skeleton man walking around talking to me, I'd shoot first as well and ask questions later. Unfortunately, the church just deleted these kids and his main girl, burning them. But the people that did this doing, they cleansed the kids, which yikes, yeah, whew, which turned him into a full-on monster, and he went on a murder spree. Yuna then gets her backstory, signaling that she's not all bad, how she had a loving family until a man stabbed her parents to death, with the last thing that she can remember being the screams of her mother calling for her name. Yeah, it back to back, just dark, wow, oof. And the sicko made her watch. Yeah, honestly, concept aside, this is kinda edgy. Fast forward some years, she's hired to kill this bastard, with her explaining that she does not do this for revenge, but kills because she finds it fun now, with her last mission being to kill Yami, with this being the first innocent person that she's killed before. The reasoning of why she does this after killing the guy who killed her parents is because she wants to know just how fucked up she is, and wants to know if there's a difference between killing an innocent person and killing a monster. After completing the job, she gets her answer, and she's ready to end it all. But then she gets a call saying that she didn't finish the job properly, and she goes back to go kill Yami. Next we see Yuna's boss, named Tits McGee. Tits McGee surrounds Yami and asks him some questions. Yami quickly folds one of the male henchmen, because you can't hurt the fan service. Tits McGee realizes that she can't stop this guy, and is a little interested to see his magic. In passing, he somehow hears a conversation about some kids burning in a fire, which triggers something within him, and he goes to save the kids. Also mentioning that the original Polka is actually still alive, with him being this inanimate object now. The dead relatives of the kids save them, and he brings Yuna back to life. Tits McGee wants to know what his goals are. Yami, being the big softie that he is, just doesn't want people to suffer, mainly children. Interesting. So she's able to convince Yami that in order to accomplish his goal, he got to get a lot of money, and suggesting that he more or less work for her, assigning Yuna, the broker, and that immortal helicopter to be a support team. I'm not gonna lie, I found it kind of interesting how the original Polka who's already dead is kind of okay with just being not having his body back. Man is hella chill about dying, as well as working with the person that literally killed him. Episode 3, where we learn that Yuna is basically a zombie now who has poison spit. The two of them take on a job where they get double crossed, but Yami explains that he was never hired by the man, but the families that he's killed. Cause the dead follow him around, immobilizing them. Meanwhile, we get some fan service with Tits McGee, and she's getting a good rub down by the badass assassin girls, with her owning a bar full of them, explaining that she's going to be using Yami, since she knows what motivates him now. Episode 4, we're introduced to the police detectives that come across more as criminals, who are trying to bring the hammer down on Tits McGee. So they gotta do some investigating, meaning one of them goes to get drunk at her titty bar, / grabbing some ass, while the other one is mean bugging some teenagers. The broker who was on the phone tells them not to mess with the second one cause he's bad news, being old Yakuza, but they do anyways. This nigga is ice cold. He gets on the phone and he starts talking hella spicy to this man. He's like, remember the last time I talked to you, right? I told you the next time I saw you in these streets, I'd beat your ass. He then explains to Yami how the broker is a whole bitch who was telling on his last gang. Man hopped out the back door while they're getting their ass beat, and he started running like a track star. But of course, he caught up to him, and then he started beating his ass. He was low oh, stop hitting me, please. That hurts. I'll do anything, please, just stop. Mans didn't have to even do much to him, saying you don't want to be listening to an informant who's going to be betraying you at any point, which is true. Mans was spitting right now. I am no tough dude, alright? But them is the street rules. Everybody in the world kind of understands the street rules. But Yami gives him the whole powers of friendship bullshit speech, saying that he still trusts his friend and all this, that, and the third. And it's oh my god, no. I'm not going to be justifying this. Episode 5. So he beats up some supernatural enemy, then becomes a fortune teller that's so popular that he's slightly moderately rich, but then he gets told to go back home. Episode 6. So when he goes back home, he's introduced to his family, bringing Yuna along to be his girlfriend excuse. His dad gets him alone, and after one conversation with him, realizes that he's not his son, demanding to know what's going on. Hearing that some kids are in a fire and need his help, he flies to save them. Well, that's convenient. Basically, the guy behind this killed an older sibling of the family in a fire, with her spirit now following the kids around trying to protect them. Yuna is able to get to them in time, but the man simply burns down the house because you can't outrun fire in a building. Yami steps in, saves the kids, and the police take him away. This guy who we thought was the firebug is really an imposter though, with the real firebug burning him alive in a truly haunting way. And she turns out to be some anime girl. The main idea is pretty interesting, how the main guy can just talk to the dead, which is kind of hardcore. How the spirits of our loved ones follow us around, as well as the spirits of the people that hate us. The anime did a good job of tricking us at the beginning as to who exactly won the duel, with the Yami wanting to be reborn all along, and it's able to give a pretty solid backstory for the characters. It kind of feels like bait when they're trying to virtue signal a certain character to make us root for them. I think what they're really trying to do with this is trying to explain that everyone has a motive that keeps them going, or that people are simply human at the end of the day. I'm not justifying the actions, but more or less explaining who the person is. In the first episode at least, I felt like the main guy was playing a survival game in reverse isekai as the Grim Reaper, what the show reminded me a lot of Darwin's Game, at least in the first episode. But then it comes across as a more fast-paced detective show, sort of like Inspector that has the whole supernatural element into the show, and much simpler to understand what's happening. But because of this, I feel like the dialogue is a bit boring, and characters like, say, the broker are not needed to be in almost every episode. Like, for example, I feel like he should have been included just as much as the character from Buddy Daddies, where he's giving out the assignments. Like, you're a part of the world, but you're not necessarily needed to push the plot. But as long as other characters outside the main guy can get shine and still have their own individual goals, then it should be okay. I do think, though, the villain role on this guy is really just gonna be hard to keep. Unless you just see more of his badass moments, he's just gonna come across as a huge softie that just wants everyone to live. But overall, it's like a 2 out of 5.